That'll be right on 182nd. So the right turn means he's going westbound now. And I can see off the nose of the helicopter, traffic is pretty light on 182nd. This is going to be in the South Bay. Not sure where he's going to go now. I prefer the pursuits actually on the freeway because when you're on surface streets, things get very erratic. There are pedestrians. Sometimes the suspect doesn't see the pedestrian. They're just driving to get away for as long as they can, and accidents do happen. We've already seen that driver of the pickup truck crash at least 2, maybe 3 times.
He's in Gardena right now, Bill.
This is going to be in Gardena, exactly. On 182nd, making a stop, and he's done this a number of times, David, as you know. He'll stop, he'll go, he'll stop, he'll go. Kind of a cat and mouse game. We'll see if he makes that westbound turn here or just stops and cooperates with LAPD officers. Back to you.
Yeah, it is interesting to watch this. And here he is sitting still. Obviously, we, along with law enforcement, skeptical because this is what he's been doing, as you said, cat and mouse, where he suddenly stops. He looks like he might consider giving up. The police get out of the cars, and then he starts rolling again. And this time he's not moving fast. He's rolling slowly. And then, as he has been doing, suddenly he'll take off again, driving erratically. You know, back to the freeway, when we saw that action, Bill, I don't really recall seeing a freeway shut down like that in pursuit of a suspect like they did in this situation. Quite honestly, usually they are after this guy along with all the traffic. To see the freeway cleared out like that, highly unique.
Yeah, very unique. Not only see the whole freeway shut down in the course of a pursuit, but also very unique to see a pit maneuver on the Harbor Freeway. That's something you very rarely see. I can't think in recent history of that ever happening. It's always on surface streets, and it's always when a suspect makes a left or a right turn, 30, 40 miles per hour. That's when the cruisers come up to the tail,
Bill,
and they just
quickly,
tap the
we
rear
are
quarter
showing
panel.
a recap of the pit maneuvers. We've seen there's the second attempt. We showed the first one. That's the second one. He's then, and here's the third attempt where they had a lot more success.
Almost had him there.
Right, they did flip his car around, but as you can see, he had so much space to maneuver, he was able to basically get back on track and continue on. But yeah, to see these pit maneuvers attempted in the middle of all this traffic, and plus here, you see all the traffic stop. This is what we were talking about, and police actually on the freeway and waiting for him. I don't recall seeing that before in a pursuit where the traffic has been shut down so they can get this guy, and it was not successful, at least in this case.
Yeah, very strange. Not only do that pit maneuver on the freeway, but the third one was relatively effective. And what's really peculiar, this is a DUI suspect. The guy was able to regain control of that pickup truck and continue south on the 110. And because, David, they did shut the freeway down at Manchester, LAPD officers and CHP officers were out of their car standing on the freeway. They may have had a chance to throw out some of those spike strips, or stop sticks as they're sometimes called. We're going to push into the driver's side right front tire. I can't tell if it's blown out. He appears to be driving very slowly, and I thought I saw a little bit of lateral shifting, but looks at this time like the tires are still intact. Looks like a male driver. Windows are down, but I can't see anything else inside the cockpit. He's come to a stop here. This is on Vermont Avenue, northbound of Vermont. They've already crossed Artesia Boulevard coming up from Gardena. And look at all these LAPD cruisers. There may be CHP officers in the rear as well. He has come to a stop. There's that cat and mouse game we've been seeing for quite some time. That's going to be 168th. Northbound on Vermont, crossing 168th as he works his way out of Gardena and back toward South LA. Vermont Avenue, by the way, if you don't know too much about it, that takes you all the way from downtown LA and all the way down into the South Bay. It kind of parallels the Harbor Freeway for quite a long stretch too. He's already on the 110 from downtown into the South Bay, and now he's just pretty much reversing course. Instead of using the Harbor Freeway, cruising slowly and methodically on Vermont Avenue, a major north-south corridor between the South Bay and downtown LA. And not sure where he's going to go next, but fortunately, at least for now, he's going rather slowly. On surface streets earlier, this guy was screaming. We watched this guy on Washington Boulevard near downtown LA actually driving his car, driving the pickup truck on the Metro Blue Line track. He had to offset off of Washington Boulevard because just in front of him there was actually a Metro Blue Line train. So he was westbound on Washington, offset, and actually westbound in eastbound lanes. Extremely dangerous, and at one point made a right turn, collided with somebody, backed up and hit an LAPD cruiser, hit the gas, and took off going. Once again, this guy, when he's caught, and he will be caught, he will be facing a number of charges. I've talked to LAPD officers a number of times over the years, and they have indicated, in fact, a number of law enforcement agencies, they have indicated that all the charges during these pursuits, they can be cumulative. So that means every red light he ran, every stop sign he ran, every incidence of reckless driving, the hit and runs, they're all cumulative, and that means that driver is facing a boatload of charges once this thing does come to an end. He'll pull over, he'll stop, he'll get out and surrender, or perhaps he'll just continue until he runs out of gas. So we'll keep the helicopter overhead. We'll continue monitoring the progress of LAPD officers northbound Vermont Avenue. He crossed 168th about a half a mile ago, continuing now up toward South LA. Back to you.
Yeah, obviously a conflicted guy because he's been, like you said, traveling very, very fast speeds, weaving in and out of traffic, going the wrong way on the Metro Blue Line track. And then he slows down. He has stopped about 5 different times, and we thought he was going to surrender. Cops cut right up behind him, and then he takes off again. So that cat and mouse game again. Also, he's hit about, I'd say, 4 different vehicles, including that police cruiser.
And significant damage to the minivan. And here it is right there. He hits the minivan, not only damaging the van, actually that's a cargo van it looks like, and he damaged his own front end. But keep in mind, this is a very heavy pickup truck, but look how big the van is compared to the pickup truck. Very powerful. They can travel at a high rate of speed, but it also creates a lot of momentum. So if they ever are going to do, let's say, a pit maneuver, that's a lot of weight being thrown around. I don't know if you just noticed, but that was him on the wrong way of the road. And this is another one where he's going down the blue line rail. It's almost like he's going to play chicken with a train, but luckily no train ended up coming his way, thank goodness. But these are the situations that we have been dealing in pursuing this guy. He's obviously extremely reckless. Back to the live picture there, where he's just simply waiting at a red light, Ellen, and he's Redondo Beach in Vermont, we're being told. That's where he is right now, still in Gardena, but sitting waiting for a light. But sometimes he's erratic, sometimes he seems to be abiding, and using, as you said, his blinker.
Yeah, he's using his left-hand signal turn or right-hand signal turn, and go figure. But right now he's just sitting there in this traffic and wondering now what he will do, if he's just waiting for the light to turn. It's hard to say. You see a little bit of movement. He's reached down underneath his seat or something. There he takes off again.
Is that a sleeve? What is that we're looking at there on his right? I don't know what that is. Oh, that's his hat. That's him
yeah,
with
he's wearing a white baseball cap.
Okay. Yeah, he's got a cap of some sort. He's been driving with his window down. He's often been dangling his arm out the window, and there he goes again.
Northbound.
High rate of speed, then he slams on the brakes, just like you're seeing. And he waits.
He's,
I don't know if there's I don't see the rail. He's at a train stop, but the rail is not down. The arms are not down, so I think he's just choosing to stop there. Let's go to Bill Thomas.
Yeah, Bill, where is he now? Is he still on the northbound Vermont?
Yeah, he's still on Vermont Avenue northbound. Vermont is a major north-south corridor just to the west of the Harbor Freeway by about a quarter of a mile. Stopping and going, stopping and going. The windows are down now, so you can see, looks like a sleeveless shirt, a white cap. We're trying to determine just exactly what's in the back of that pickup truck. We can't tell just yet. Could be tools, debris, boxes, drums, unclear. We just hope it doesn't bounce out and hit somebody on surface streets. Fortunately, the speeds are relatively average here, about 35, 40 miles per hour. Traffic is reasonable right now. Not exactly what you'd call bumper-to-bumper traffic. Making a right turn off of Vermont into a McDonald's restaurant, and this may be where this comes to an end. There are a number of LAPD officers on this guy. You can't see him in that shot. We're going to keep it kind of tight for now to see what he does next. He might just pull over and call it a day here, and he might go under. That might be a gas station as well. So this is going to be a gas station at McDonald's. This is going to be just
all right, we have a little
gas
bit of
station on. He's trying to come around to the backside. There he is right there. He pulled over to this gas station, Rosecrans and Vermont. We thought he was going to stop. You can see the McDonald's restaurant. You see all the pedestrians off to the right side trying to take a look at all the action. And now he's going to pick up Rosecrans, and the chase is back on. We thought hopefully this guy would be coming to his senses, pulled over, but then he just kept right on going. Eastbound on Rosecrans from Vermont near Gardena, driving on the wrong side of the road here to try to get around that rush hour traffic. Rosecrans, wow, it's always a mess anywhere between LAX and Norwalk. Rosecrans is another major east-west corridor which connects Orange County with LA County, and this one is going to be right on top of the Harbor Freeway. Rosecrans eastbound at the 110. He got around that traffic somehow. This guy has got some real good luck in his favor this afternoon, getting around all that traffic, and we'll see what he does here. Maybe make a right turn. He may try to rejoin the freeway. So this is Rosecrans eastbound from the 110, and there he goes right back onto the Harbor Freeway. Personally, guys, I've seen too many terrible things happen on surface streets, at least on the freeway, although that has its inherent dangers. It keeps them off of surface streets, away from pedestrians, away from people going to and from school, to and from work, and folks just out and about trying to take care of their daily afternoon chores. So we're getting back onto the freeway. We'll see if he goes northbound. Yes, he does. Eastbound Rosecrans on-ramp to the Harbor Freeway northbound. So just as we saw this guy go from downtown into the South Bay, he's coming up from the South Bay now back into downtown. The whole thing is like deja vu, except he's going the opposite direction this time. 110 northbound coming up from Rosecrans. The speed's picking up now, 70, 75 miles per hour. He'll be up at the 105 in South LA in just a matter of about 2, maybe 3 minutes. I can see the El Segundo Boulevard off the nose of the helicopter. This is a chase been following now for well over 35, 40 minutes. A reported DUI driver. LAPD officers picked this guy up in downtown LA over on San Pedro Street and Olympic. There was a standoff a number of times. The suspect just pulled over, stopped. We thought it was over. One of those cat and mouse things which we've seen far too many times. He hit the gas and took off again, and we've seen that a number of times. He went south on the Harbor Freeway. LAPD officers working side by side with their partners at the California Highway Patrol shut the freeway down. Rush hour traffic, South 110 at Manchester, right in the middle, right in the thick of things, shut the whole freeway down to accommodate this pursuit. They tried to bring it to an end, but the guy went right through the closure, continued into Gardena, now back on the Harbor Freeway northbound. He'll be approaching the 105 in about a quarter of a mile. Once again, a suspected DUI driver. Hopefully this guy comes to his senses and just pulls over, but at this point, he's going to stick with what we call the express lanes. These used to be the carpool lanes. These now require a transponder to use, and he's going to use them at his will, 110 northbound, as he works his way under the 105 in just about a quarter of a mile. Now, traffic looks very light right here, but in a quarter of a mile, just after the 105, the North 110, this is typical this time of the afternoon. Traffic gets extremely heavy, except for the elevated carpool lane or the express lane. That, if he uses that, that'll get him into downtown reasonably quick. But the main line of the freeway, which we'll be showing you here momentarily, is extremely congested. A little bit of that shot for you, just so you know, a number of LAPD officers are keeping their distance, but they're right behind. There they are, right behind that guy. They are running what they call code 3, lights and sirens on. And just a reminder, if this thing gets off the freeway again, as it did a few minutes ago in Gardena, if it comes into your neighborhood, I know it sounds exciting and it looks exciting, but it's extremely dangerous. These pursuits can and often do end in gunfire. People are hurt, people are killed. It's in your best interest, if it comes into your neighborhood, stay indoors, keep the doors and windows locked. Oftentimes these suspects get out and they make a run for it, find the first open house they can find and commandeer it. You want to steer clear of all that. We're playing it forward just a little bit, but just so you know in advance, if it does come into your neighborhood, stay indoors, stay out of harm's way, and let LAPD officers and other agencies involved do their job and get that suspect taken into custody. So speeds now on the 110 northbound, they're going to dip down to about 20, 25 miles per hour. The express lane or the carpool lane, that's scooting right along at nearly full speed. He's holding to the right of those two express lanes as he works his way up now toward Manchester, and in no time at all, he'll be back into downtown. This is where we picked it up, so this suspect may live or work somewhere near downtown LA, somewhere near central LA. He may be going back to where the pursuit started, get back to some familiar ground. He may have a friend or a family member nearby. He may be using his cell phone to communicate with friends or family who may be trying to reason with him, trying to get him to pull over, but at this point, he just keeps on going. He's had a number of accidents along the way. Actually backed that pickup truck after an accident, backed it up into an LAPD cruiser, if you missed that earlier, and that can be construed as an assault with a deadly weapon, but LAPD officers using great constraint and crossing Sentry, they showed great constraint. There were no shots fired. They have tried to pull this guy over and pit him a number of times, but so far it hasn't been successful as we continue 110 northbound and now at the Sentry Boulevard off-ramp. And back to you.
Yeah, certainly traffic is starting to slow down there as you head in toward downtown. You're looking live right now at these pictures on the 110 northbound, and this guy doesn't want to give up.
No, he doesn't, and that's what's scary, because if he truly is impaired, well, we believe he is a potential DUI driver, then that may also explain some of his radical behavior, but also we don't know how good he is at being a decision maker in these situations. Clearly he's made some very bad decisions and will continue to do so. Perhaps that's why the police were really emphatically trying to end this thing quickly while he was on the freeway by shutting down the 110 freeway, which was highly unique. In fact, I've never seen that before personally, but they may have done that before, but not during a pursuit that we have been covering.
And 3 attempted pit maneuvers. And here you see an earlier scene of what he was trying to get away, and I believe this is when he runs into the van, perhaps, or no? Okay, we have video where he did run into a van, backed up into a cruiser, then he hit another car as he was trying to cruise along the freeway. He's going on the Metro Blue Line rail the wrong way, driving on the wrong way of the street. Here he is. He runs right into that cargo van, then backs up right into the cruiser, and yet he still makes a getaway. And,
and then we saw 3 different pit maneuvers. Here is one of them right here where you see him, the police officer just tagged the back of his bumper, but it didn't really do anything. He wagged the back end a little bit. Then they tried the second maneuver right here, and they hit him a little bit better, but still he keeps on going, which was surprising that they did that at that high rate of speed with all those other cars. And then this one, they really did. They got him pretty good, and he flips around, and there he loses control, which is the way it's designed to work. But as you can see, with all the space that he has available, he was able to flip back around and take off again. And you'll notice nobody on the freeway because the freeway basically was shut down, so they had some room to move. And here you see all the backed up traffic because they did stop the traffic on the freeway to kind of slow this guy down. Police are there waiting for him.
And right here on the left hand of your screen, you see him on Florence. He's come to a stop there, but he did exit the freeway, the 110. He's on Florence Avenue right now. And let's go back to Bill Thomas.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes next. This is the Florence Avenue off-ramp off the 110. If he makes that left and goes westbound, that'll take him over to the Faith Dome. He could go east and pick up Florence Avenue toward the Long Beach Freeway, and he might just use this collector lane and try to rejoin the freeway or just stay on this collector lane. Now, this is a residential neighborhood on the right or east side of the 110 in South LA. He exited Florence, continued northbound. Because this is a residential neighborhood, like we were telling you a few minutes ago, and these things get off the freeway, sometimes they go into a neighborhood, they get out and they run, they try to commandeer whatever they can commandeer, carjack somebody, enter your home against your will. That's why you want to stay indoors, keep the doors and windows locked. This is going to be Grand, northbound on Grand on the right or east side of the Harbor Freeway. We'll move the shot for you just a bit. LAPD officers telling us now they are still in the neighborhood. They're in what they call tracking mode now. They backed off just a bit because this is still very dangerous. There they are. They're about 8, maybe 10 car lengths behind. Grand northbound, and we'll see what he does here. Make a left or a right or stay in the neighborhood. And just to remind us, go back onto that suspect vehicle. They're calling it tracking mode now. They have they've been telling us that the suspect is inside that cockpit, inside the pickup truck. He's moving around quite a bit, shifting recklessly, moving things around, and they may get that information from their police helicopter overhead. They've got that camera, they're down low, they can look inside, so they get that information from the helicopter. They're passing that on to us, and that's why they're backing off just a bit. We'll open up there. He's got the red light. He's actually come to a stop here, northbound on Grand, and we'll see if he makes that left or right turn, east or westbound, or once that light turns green, continue northbound on Grand and try and re-access the Harbor Freeway. Because we did pick this up in downtown LA. I first heard about it near Wilshire Boulevard. I'm going to make that San Pedro and Olympic. That's where we first heard about it. He may be heading back to that general area. Right now, as the crow flies, we're about maybe 6 or 7 miles to the south, and we'll see if he continues to meander his way up toward downtown LA. This is a DUI suspect. Very little else is known about that suspect. We can't tell if there's anybody else inside that pickup truck in the front right passenger seat and the back seat either, because the windows all about that pickup truck are heavily tinted. The passenger window has been rolled down. We have seen that male driver wearing a sleeveless shirt, a white hat, and moving around quite a bit in the pickup truck and moving things around in the pickup truck, so we don't know what he's got. Problem here is for LAPD officers and anyone who gets involved in this pursuit, we don't know if that suspect is armed or dangerous, and outside of a possible DUI suspect, very little else is known. So now he made that turn. He picked up Grand northbound and made that turn westbound on Florence. If he continues westbound here, that'll take him over toward Vermont, toward Normandy. The Faith Dome is nearby. Looks like he's coming up under the Harbor Freeway. There he is at the gas station. This is an area known as Class B or Class Bravo airspace. This is an area that's controlled by LAX. A little difficult for us to get in, but we'll get as close as we can. We'll be working with the LAX controllers and seeing what happens next. Now it looks like he's going to make that U-turn or maybe pull into this gas station off of Florence and the 110. We don't want to lose it behind that awning, so we'll try to reposition accordingly, and we'll see if the tower will let us work this little chunk of airspace with them. He's in what appears to be a Chevron or a mobile gas station. This may be where it comes to an end, but he did this about 10 minutes ago, pulled into a gas station and a McDonald's parking lot in Gardena. We thought it was over.
All right, bear with us because...
Picked up and took off again.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, bear with us on the signal, guys. We're meandering. We're moving about quite a bit, trying to get that perfect angle. For folks here in the parking lot, this is the last place you want to be. You want to stay as far away from that suspect and as far away from law enforcement as you can. We don't know what this guy is thinking. We don't know what he's going to do next. And although LAPD officers told us a few minutes ago they were going into tracking mode, backing off just a bit, we still see him here in the neighborhood. They're at this gas station with that suspect. The entire gas station is surrounded. They're not going to box him in. They're not going to get offensive. They're going to stay defensive. They're going to stay behind him. If he takes off again, they'll continue again. They've got their lights on. They've got their sirens on. They're most likely using a loudspeaker, some kind of a PA system to communicate with that driver. If they don't believe he's responding well enough to English commands, they may use Spanish commands, and they have a number of foreign language speaking police officers on the force. They'll do whatever they need to do. So we're going to pull out just a bit. We're going to see if they got that spike strip in the street in case this guy tries to make an exit back onto Grand. He was on Grand, made that turn onto Florence, pulled into the gas station, and he may exit that gas station. Look at the bottom of your screen, your LAPD officers. They are standing by. They got that spike strip at the bottom of your screen, and as soon as he pulls forward, most likely what they'll do is throw that spike strip out. We're going to keep that shot just a little bit wider. He's turning the lights off. He had the windshield wipers on for some reason as well. May still have the flashers or a blinker on. We don't know what he's going to do next. We'll open up that shot for you. And most likely LAPD officers are telling people to exit safely if they can, or hunker down, stay away, push back in, stay away from that suspect. There's the spike strip, and he just ran over it with the right driver's side. He has made contact. So what that's going to do, it's not going to puncture the tire. People often ask about those stop sticks or spike strips. What that's going to do is start a slow leak. So he's got the another spike strip right there. Now the back tire as well. So that's good. He's made contact with a number of tires. There are run flat tires. I think LAPD has some motorcycles with run flat tires, but these tires will take a little bit of time, and the air will gradually ease out. This is going to be on flour now, going what appears to be the wrong way.
Is he on the wrong side of the road? Yeah.
Yeah, he is on the wrong side of the road trying to re-access Florence Avenue. Just made that right turn off of Flower. Heading back now, he's going to be eastbound on Florence. Next stop is going to be Grand. He'll come out under that Harbor Freeway. Those tires aren't going to lose their air anytime soon. It's going to take a little bit of time. Sometimes it can take 10, 12 minutes before all the tires lose all of the air. And then what happens, I've seen these pursuits go on and on and on. Once they lose all that air, then chunks of rubber start flying off the rims. Then the rims make contact with the concrete. That's going to generate friction. That's going to generate heat. Then the sparks start flying. And in no time at all, we see these cars start going up in flames. Then the suspect has nothing else to do. They do come to a stop, and they do get out very rapidly. When your car's going up in flames, what are you going to do? You get out and you make a run for it. So we told you on Grand a short while ago, he was northbound on Grand. He had to go east or west on Florence. He went westbound on Florence, back into the pickup truck after stopping for a short time. We've seen that happen a number of times. Now eastbound once again on Florence Avenue from the Harbor Freeway coming out of South LA. If it continues eastbound on Florence, the next major intersection, that'll take him over to the Long Beach Freeway, Florence Avenue eastbound. You'll see the Bicycle Club Casino in that general area as well. The 710 this time of the afternoon, it gets extremely congested. This is in the community of Florence, not too far from South LA, eastbound on Florence Avenue. And looking ahead off the nose of the helicopter, traffic immediately light, but up ahead by about a half a mile, I'm seeing a lot of stop-and-go traffic, a lot of stop signs as well, and that's what he's seeing most likely as well from the pickup truck, and that's why you see him in the center divider there, trying to get around all that traffic. We've seen him drive on the wrong side of the street a number of times.
His front tire is gone, Bill. It looks like his front tire is gone already. You can see it. The rubber is pretty much collapsed on it, and it's almost down to the rim,
yes.
So he's really going to start losing control here, which is dangerous as well, especially if he's an impaired driver who refuses to give up. However, at least his spike strip clearly has had some success.
Right.
You know, the spike strip's very effective. It takes a few minutes, but the air does release. As we were describing for you a few minutes ago, you lose all the air out of that tire, at least the front tire. We're going to start seeing some sparks, some heat, and in time, you can see a little bit of fire come up as well. And another problem related to with these tires, when they start losing all their air, you do lose some of that stability. So you've got to take things slower and slower. The faster you go, the more stability you lose. And to regain some of that stability, you've got to slow down sometimes 4 or 5 miles per hour.
Dangerous.
And this is going to be Florence Avenue eastbound. He just crossed Avalon, and he's scooting along here at about 45 miles per hour. Crossing Central now, while other folks are going about 10 miles per hour. He's up at 30 or 40, and you can see he's lost at least the left front tire. He's losing a lot of the rubber. He's trying to he keeps on going, narrowly missing pedestrians here at these intersections, making that southbound turn. That's going to be Central. Now, as we talked about earlier, here comes the smoke. He must know something's up right now. He might not understand he hit the spike strips, but he's starting to feel that instability with his steering, and he saw the smoke. So the rubber's starting to come off those tires. Those rims, those metal rims are making contact with that concrete. The faster he goes and the longer he goes, those rims are going to get hotter and hotter. That'll generate heat, sparks, and in time it will generate a fire if he keeps going. Southbound on Central, making a right turn, so that'll give him a westbound turn. And look at the smoke coming out of the rear of that tire there. So he's lost at least 2, maybe more tires in the neighborhood, in the community of Florence. And just a reminder, if you live anywhere nearby, we're closest to Central Avenue and Florence in the neighborhood. Once again, stay inside. This is 75th Street westbound now. 75th westbound off of Florence in the neighborhood. Stay indoors. The suspect at any time could come to a stop, get out, make a run for it. LAPD officers are right behind him by less than, I would say, 1/8 of a mile. And if he gets out, makes a run for it, they're going to be right on top of him in no time at all. And there's really nowhere to hide. That police helicopter is overhead. The entire neighborhood surrounded with a number of law enforcement agencies. And now he just made that left turn. So this will be southbound. He's going to be on McKinley now, riding on what would appear to be only 2 good tires and a relatively well banged up full-size pickup truck. This guy's crashed a number of times that we've seen. He's also been pitted by LAPD cruisers a number of times on the Harbor Freeway a short time earlier. This is now back in South LA. They were in the community of Florence, but as you can see, this is a very heavily populated residential area. I can see there are high schools, there are elementary schools, there are middle schools here nearby. That means a lot of foot traffic, a lot of pedestrian traffic, and even if he tries his best to avoid that traffic, he's only going to have so much control over that pickup truck with limited tread on what appears to be only 2 good tires. He's lost the left front and possibly the right rear tire, and that may be why he's traveling very slowly right now on surface streets. I'd put him at about 15 and maybe 20 miles per hour, and barely enough room for one car to get through with traffic. Just passing 79th, coming up on 80th. You may have just missed that, but a chunk of tread, a large chunk of tread, just came off of one of the tires. And look at that left front tire. He's riding pretty much on the rim right now. If he goes this slow, that's fine, but when he goes into a turn, he's going to lose a lot of that stability and then most likely slide out of control. And that's when, David Nell, and LAPD officers may jump in and try to implement that pit maneuver once again, because he is traveling at a relatively slow speed. They can look around the neighborhood and make sure there's not a risk for anybody else in the neighborhood, pedestrians or other people who are driving around town. At this point in South LA, they may jump in and do that pit any second now.
Hey, Bill, real quickly, we're going to show some video of police throwing out that spike strip. He pulled into that gas station, then he sat there, and as he was pulling out, you can see the police snuck up behind that SUV, and then they were able to effectively throw out the spike strip, where he went over it both with his front tires, and we believe as they pull it here on the string, it'll hit his back tires as well, right there, and clearly that did the job, because at least when it comes to the front tires, you see it on the driver's side front, there's no tread left, as Bill is pointing out, and then we've been seeing smoke come out of the back of the vehicle. Bill, take it over again.
Okay, once again, he's come to an end. He's approaching 82nd Street off McKinley. He may be drinking something. We don't know what it is, but this is a reported DUI suspect. He has come to a stop in a residential neighborhood, and this is so dangerous for folks in the neighborhood who want to come outside and take a look. At this point, I don't see anybody outdoors, but you'll hear the sirens. You may look out the window and see all those police cruisers, but these things do have violent consequences from time to time, and that's why we always tell you, given these situations, stay indoors. Keep the doors and windows locked. If he gets out and makes a run for it, he may aim for the first open door he sees. Move back tight now into that suspect. He doesn't appear to be getting out of the vehicle. He's drinking something. He appears to be relatively calm. For some reason, his windshield wipers are on, the headlights are on, but he has come to a stop here in South LA on 82nd Street. A number of schools, a number of businesses nearby, but primarily a residential community. Only a DUI suspect, but LAPD officers telling us a short while ago there was a lot of movement in the cabin. He was moving and shifting quite a bit. He was reaching under his seat. They don't know if he's armed, therefore they don't know if he's dangerous, and that's why we'll open up that shop for you right now. Look at LAPD officers right behind that guy. They're keeping a little bit of a wide berth. They're out of their cruisers. They're very well trained. They have their weapons at the ready. They're ready for any possible contingency, but they're playing this very offensive. They're not being defensive as they were earlier this afternoon on the Harbor Freeway, for example, when they actually tried to pit that guy 3 separate times back into him. He's going to sit in that cockpit. He's going to sit in the cabin of that full-size pickup truck. He's most likely listening to commands of LAPD officers, but at this point, he is not complying, so we don't know what they're going to do next. If he puts that thing in reverse and goes backwards toward LAPD officers as he did before, they can look at that once again as an assault with a deadly weapon, and if necessary, they can, and I've seen them do it in the past, use deadly force. At this point, they'll continue keeping a wide berth. That pickup truck surrounded not only by LAPD officers on the ground, but the police helicopter with that bright light. You see, that's their night sun. They're shining it on the suspect so police officers can see exactly what's going on downstairs, and they're all working in concert with one another to see what this guy is going to do next. But at this point, it's kind of a waiting game. They've got just as much time, if not more, than that suspect has got. He may have ran out of gas as well. He has stopped, taken off a number of times, but at this point stopped on 82nd Street in South LA, and now it's just a waiting game to see if he comes out of that helicopter. And back to you.
Bill Thomas, thank you very much. Mark Brown and Michelle Tuzzi joining you now for Eyewitness News at 5. We are watching this pursuit that has wound its way from downtown to South LA, the South Bay, and back again. Bill, can you give us a location here of where you are exactly?
Yeah, we're in South LA. We're on 82nd Street. Looks like he may be facing westbound. He's off the nose of my house. Oh, it's actually he's southbound. He's southbound on 82nd Street off of Florence Avenue, which is about a quarter of a mile away. This is a suspect we picked up as a DUI suspect in downtown LA, I think well over an hour ago. Meandered his way out of downtown LA onto the Harbor Freeway southbound from the South 110. He ended up in Gardena. He's on surface streets for a while. He picked up the 110 northbound off at Vermont. Pulled over at a gas station not too far from Vermont, actually on Flower and Florence. Pulled in. We thought the whole thing was going to be wrapped up, but the guy took off once again. And Mark, he's done this a number of times this afternoon. He's been pitted by LAPD officers. You've seen the pit maneuver a number of times. He's been pitted a few times, and each time, even though he's a DUI suspect, we're not sure he's under the influence, but every time he got pitted, he was able to regain control and take off. And about 10 minutes ago, when he was at a gas station just off of Flower and Florence, LAPD officers had enough time to get the spike strips or stop sticks in place, and they were able to puncture at least a couple of the tires. We saw some smoke generated from one of the tires where the tread is pretty much just all but vanished. So at least two of the tires he's running pretty much just on the rim, and that means he's got a lack of stability. It's very difficult to control that truck, and that may be why he's come to a stop. On the other hand, we don't know how much gas he's got. He may have run out of gas, and it may just be a waiting game. Southbound on 82nd Street and not too far from Slauson Avenue. This is in the neighborhood. It's very well illuminated. LAPD officers off to your right. There's just a few of them. Hold that shot, but behind them, there are a whole squad of police units here. I believe CHP officers were assisting when it was on the freeway, but at this point, it appears to be just LAPD officers. They're most likely doing everything they can. We haven't got our microphones on the ground, but if you did, you'd be hearing things like police officers telling him, put your hands outside, turn the vehicle off, throw your keys out, open the door, get out of the car, stand up, and walk backward to the sound of our voice. And then at one point, you've seen it in the past a number of times, I'm sure, they'll get him down on the ground, face down, arms and hands spread out before they approach the subject, frisk him, and take him into custody. At this point, it doesn't appear as though anyone's been injured, but this has been a wild chase with this suspect running red lights, running stop signs, driving on the wrong side of the road. At one time, driving actually on the Metro Blue Line track on Washington Boulevard. He saw the train up ahead and had to offset, and that's when he started traveling westbound, but in eastbound traffic on Washington Boulevard. It's been all over downtown LA, central LA, South LA, and here we are again in South LA, southbound on 82nd in the neighborhood. And a reminder, can't stress this enough, if you live nearby, stay out of harm's way until LAPD officers have taken that suspect into custody. And back to you.
Well, we saw the driver was able to continue on despite at least 3 pit attempts, but he was not successful in avoiding a spike strip, as we saw at about 4:50 this evening when he pulled into a gas station and ran over that spike strip, and that at least partially disabled the vehicle. We saw that at least one front tire went flat, and now it has come to a stop here on 82nd Street off Florence. And Bill Thomas, what do you see ahead of the suspect's truck at this point? Is he blocked? Is the roadway blocked ahead of him, or could he continue on at this point?
If he's got gas, and if he's not concerned about lack of tire tread, he actually could continue southbound on 82nd. It's very rare for LAPD officers to get that offensive and trap somebody in. They generally stay very defensive. Rare situation today, they did get offensive on the Harbor Freeway and tried that pit maneuver. It's not only rare at those speeds, but rare to have that happening on the freeway in rush hour traffic. First time I've seen it, it was relatively effective, but unfortunately the driver was able to regain control and take off once again. Southbound on 82nd, he could continue on if he's got the fuel, if he's got the wherewithal. He may be frightened, he may be scared, he may be confused, but at this point he has come to a stop. He can continue. He's not surrounded. He's only got the LAPD officers behind him, and most likely strategically placed around the neighborhood in case he makes some kind of an odd turn. But at this point he could continue southbound, Michelle, if he opted to, at a standstill for a while longer.
All right, and just to be clear here, McKinley Avenue and North-South Street, 82nd, I believe, is an East-West Street. And what do you make of the fact that, from what we saw, he stopped at 2 different gas stations, or tried to, it looked like. I mean, this is somebody who's under the influence, so who knows about his logic, but why would he pull into those 2 gas station parking lots and sit there for a little while? That seems very strange. I've never, I don't think I can recall seeing that before. People do all kinds of weird things. What do you make of that? Do you think he might actually have been low on gas and thought somehow that he could stop and get gas and continue this pursuit, Bill?
Well, it is a DUI suspect. It's not confirmed that he is under the influence, but if he is, we did see him drinking from something in that pickup truck. Entirely possible. They get a little oblivious. They're just not thinking clearly. They pull over. Maybe they think they're going to take on fuel. There was a McDonald's restaurant at the first gas station. You may have wanted to pull over, maybe grab some grub. But in any event, stopped, took off, stopped again at a second facility, waited a little while longer, which really worked to everyone's benefit. When he stopped over there on Florence Avenue near Flower, he gave LAPD officers enough time to mobilize, get out of their cruisers, get those spike strips ready, and they were able to implement those spike strips. And we believe he's lost at least 2 tires. He may come to his senses already and realize, look, I haven't got any control. I've lost some of my tires, and that may be why he stopped. It may be that. He may be tired. He may be confused. But clearly, LAPD officers are in the area. They are trying to communicate with him. They are giving him a decent wide berth there. You can see there's about 6, maybe 8 car lengths to the rear, just in case he gets out and makes a run for it. They can chase after him with their cruisers on foot as well. And that bright light you see shining down on that pickup truck, on the suspect's pickup truck, that's the LAPD helicopter they've got what they call their night sun. They're shining it on that on the pickup truck so they can watch his every move and then relay those movements to LAPD officers on the ground who are now out of their cars in the neighborhood, and they've got that suspect pretty well surrounded just in case he gets out and tries to make a run for it. Now I'm hearing there are actually 2 LAPD helicopters, one maybe pulling off to go take on fuel while the other relieves him. Nonetheless, as you can imagine, with all these police officers on the ground and the air support overhead, this is all but wrapped up. This guy's got nowhere to go. But suspects often say, you know, the longer they're not in custody, Mark and Michelle, the longer they're not in custody. They're free right now. LAPD officers are on this guy. They want to get him into custody, but as long as he has handcuffs on, he's still a free man. But it's just a matter of time before he gets out, gives up, and surrenders. Or at one point, LAPD officers actually approach the vehicle. I've seen that in the past as well. But for now, they're still giving him a wide berth, trying to get him to do the right thing on his own.
So, Bill, despite these pit maneuvers on the freeway, there were no collisions on the freeway. It's remarkable, given the traffic and everything.
Traffic got very heavy out of downtown through South LA, and he was meandering in and out of traffic. I didn't notice any collisions along the way, but because he was going so tight in between lanes at times, he may have collided with a number of people. Those people most likely will call LAPD officers. They'll let them know they were involved along the way, and at one point we'll get a tally, we'll get a count of just how many people were involved. We did see him crash at one point on Service Streets a short time after the pursuit began this afternoon, somewhere between downtown LA and South LA. He made a right turn, collided with a van, and that's when he put the thing in reverse, went backwards, and ran into an LAPD cruiser, and that could have resulted in gunfire, but LAPD officers showing great restraint. There were no shots fired that I could see from the helicopter, and he kept going. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, there's the collision with the van that that you were alluding to there, that collision at South San Pedro Street in South Los Angeles, and he hit it pretty much nose on and then backed up into a cruiser and then sped off. We have seen in the past, in terms of policy regarding different police agencies, that it is considered to be an assault with a deadly weapon or an assault on a police officer if you drive toward an officer or a unit with and the officer inside is in reasonable fear of their life or safety, and they can, in fact, open fire. They chose not to in this instance, and he sped off. There looked like 2 instances in which he was either backing toward an officer, as we saw in that collision with the van, and then when one of the pit maneuvers on the freeway where he ended up facing a unit and then driving for a little bit towards it and then driving away. So he was really putting his life on the line at that point. The officers, depending on how it ended up being adjudicated, might have been found to have been justified to have fired at him at those junctures. But so far, no shots fired, nobody hurt as far as we know. I'm not sure how tightly we can zoom in to the cabin of that pickup truck that has sustained some pretty serious damage thus far. But what we've seen earlier is that he was tipping a bottle in there or something. He was drinking something, it appeared. Don't know. A lot of people will have their cell phone on them and they'll be talking to people, relatives, friends. Perhaps even to the dispatch folks. They might be able to get his phone number if they have enough on this person and be able to try to talk to him and convince him to give up. I haven't seen anything that indicates he's on the phone, but he's hitting the bottle pretty good.
Hitting something, yeah. Bill, this particular truck has room for passengers in the back. Is it believed there's just the one driver inside?
Yeah, unfortunately, all we can see and all officers on the ground and in the helicopter can see is the left driver's side window. That is rolled down. The rest of the windows are up, and of course, as you can see, they're heavily tinted. We've lost a lot of our sunlight as well. We're as tight as we can get right now, and you can barely make out the silhouette.